fear.
Start right off and talk about Ohtani. Last night on the mound, he called his own pitches, struck out 10, went 1 for 3 at the plate, and the Angels lose.
It's amazing.
2-1. So my question is, and Nick, I know we were discussing this earlier, the Angels have Mike Trout and they have Shohei Ohtani, and this feels like they continue to just not get it done. Is it okay if I'm disappointed? I know it's just one game, but I kind of want Ohtani after the World Baseball Classic to be on the biggest stage, and it feels like we're headed in the wrong direction.
And he should be. If the Angels stay healthy with the new playoff format, they should have an opportunity to be in the playoffs. But health is the key for every team. It'd be like the Golden State Warriors having the 3 best shooters on one team and not making the playoffs. I mean, people would start to go, hey, wait a minute. And I think that's the case for the Angels. It's unfortunate, but 2 people can't carry that whole team, even though they're the 2 best players in the game. And one is words you just can't describe. I mean, what Ohtani's doing, there's no words anymore. I mean, he is literally the best player on the planet. The World Baseball Classic, I watched him hit batting practice. He doesn't take much batting practice outdoors when he's during the season, and he was hitting balls over 500 feet. And I'm telling you, if I was pitching that night, I'd have just gone in and just kind of put my head. It's impressive to watch.
So I want to stay on Ohtani because I don't know how much time you spend on Twitter or if you ever did, but there's a tweet from a couple years ago that I think will make you laugh. We can show it to you and I'll read it to the audience quickly here. This is the tweet from last night actually. Shohei Ohtani's outing, 26 since 1901, 10 plus strikeouts, no runs allowed. It's the first time the pitcher's team lost the game, which is a real tweet, but it harkens back to the tweet from 2 years ago, which every time I see an Angels highlight, says Mike Trout hit 3 home runs, raised his average 528, while Shohei Ohtani did something that hasn't been done since Tungsten Armo Doyle of the 1921 Akron Groomsmen, as the Tigers defeated the Angels 8-3. At some point, if they are healthy, do you think what is best for baseball is for Shohei Ohtani to play for a team that it will not take him being Babe Ruth for them to maybe make the playoffs, where we can guarantee to see him in the playoffs?
Eventually that's going to happen. Now, it needs to happen for the Angels, and I'm sure they've tried every way they can to ensure that. And like I said, pitching depth not been their strongest part. Offensively, they've had some injuries. Mike Trout's been hurt the last 3 years.
Yep.
And it's really been the Shohei Ohtani show, and he can't do it all by himself. But what happens when you're playing against greatness, and if you're pitching against Ohtani or you're playing, you're going to get the absolute best of the other team, and that's what happens a lot. I mean, Oakland, if they faced him 10 times, no disrespect to Oakland, he's going to win 8 out of 10 times on the pitching mound. But that given night, they were able to an opening night. So the Angels are in a really, really tough spot. I think they've got 3 months to decide the future of what they're going to do of their franchise, because if they're not heading in the direction in 3 months that looks like it's trending to a playoff, they've got a tough decision to make. They could either help change their franchise in a way that would be unique, and Ohtani would be one of those ways to do that.
Well, look, there's been talk. Buster Olney from ESPN, I think, said he thinks he might get a $600 million contract, Ohtani. I think the Angels, and I think both sides, this would be best. If they sit down now and they tell Ohtani what they're going to offer him, and they make him this offer, and if he rejects it, now you have an open conversation. Like, so will you stay? And if he's like, well, I want to see where we're at in 3 months or 4 months or whatever it might be, I think they have to start looking at moving him to save themselves. Don't lose him for nothing.
Right.
Look at getting something for him. But I want to ask you this, John, because I think growing up, and I know now guys specialize more, even at the high school level.
Right.
But growing up, it's not unusual that a guy who's a phenomenal pitcher in high school is also a phenomenal hitter. Mm-hmm. Do you think Ohtani now, we will see more guys get the chance at the college and minor league levels to do both pitching and hitting, and that could lead to some guys in the majors doing it?
I hope so. I mean, he's an outlier, no doubt, but I hope it opens up the thought of it, because everybody, and I used to kid with all our everyday players, I said, you know what? You had a choice to make. You wanted to play every day when you got to big leagues. I could have done that, but I chose to pitch once every 5 days. But I think it is a great conversation to open it up to see if there's an opportunity for that, because you're right. In high school and even college, a lot of the great athletes can do multiple things, but then they make a decision what's best for their future. This freak has opened up a whole
That'd be
can
great.
there.
Other big story yesterday, the pitch clock. My guy Devers called out yesterday, but overall seemed to be a new innovation that was a great success. Athletics said there was a 26-minute difference between last year's opening day, average length of game time, and this year. John, were you totally happy with it? 100% happy?
I'm ecstatic. I've been looking forward to this year more than any other year, and I've seen baseball for a long time, played it. This is going to change the way the game is viewed, the way people look at it, the way the philosophy is going to change. We need more athleticism and action in the game, and we have plenty of athletes. It's not a shortage of athletes. It's just been played in a very tough way for the viewers to handle lack of action. Dominant pitching, home run hitters, strikeouts, walks. There's not a lot of action. You're going to see a ton of it. Baseball is in a good place this year because it's going to help getting guys off their feet over the course of 162. If you average 15 to 20 minutes less per game, that's significant at the end of the year.
All right, so I have an idea that I think is a good idea, but you might say is absolutely terrible. So it has to do with the pitch clock. So I think the pitch clock in general is an awesome innovation, especially with how people consume sports and attention spans. I also think the single best thing of playoff baseball is how terrifying every pitch is late in the game. And it's what made you one of the greatest players ever, is being able to deal with that. But for the fans, just the time in between pitches. Is it a good idea or a bad idea if we have the pitch clock all year and then say, final 3 innings of playoff games, we're going to let it draw out? Or as a player, hitter, or pitcher, if you spend 6 months getting into the rhythm and then you go back to the old thing, is it a bad idea?
Yeah, you want to be consistent. You don't want to, we saw the World Baseball Classic, which was pretty cool, but we saw the significance difference. Even though they were great games, it's hard to have 162 of those games, and they were at 3 hours and 20, 3 hours and 40 minutes. At the end of the day, when you have these great athletes, and you giving them the opportunity to adjust, they're going to adjust. Less than 5% of these players are going to be impacted in a negative way where they may not be able to do that. But I'd say this, if you're throwing 100 miles an hour a pitch and you have all the kind of time to do it, now you got to do it in 15 seconds.
Do you think that leads to more injuries?
I think it would. I think now you have a chance to be a little bit more pace-driven, and you can't afford to empty the tank every single pitch. And so I think it's going to have a positive effect instead of a negative. If you allow me to empty, if I could, well, you'd never hear my name if I threw 100 miles an hour every pitch back in the day. I would have broke down. But if you allow me that time to do that, then I can do that and not be, it's the same thing in basketball. When the shot clock came in the basketball, if you're a team that were down by 20 points before the game started, you could just stall.
Right.
Yeah. So every sport has been able to do things.
High school,
and I think it's a great way to give teams if you're the best shortstop in baseball.
Right.
Do we know that in the last 5 years?
No.
No, everything's in a shift.
Right.
We don't have an identifiable difference. So your team doesn't have a competitive advantage over the next because everyone's doing the same thing. Now we're going to see athleticism, defense, speed. We're going to see things that you normally got used to not seeing, and I think it's going to be exciting.
All right, let's turn our attention to the Yankees. 1 at-bat, 1 home run for Aaron Judge. Yankees win. Brew, we'll start with you here. Is it crazy for me to expect a repeat performance? Remember, we got the pitch clock, we got bigger bases, we got no shift.
No, look, I think he's going to hit at least 50. I mean, if you look at his career, when he's been healthy, I think the 1 year he hit like 39 when he played about 150 games. But for the most part, when he plays close to a full season, he hits, 52, I think was his first year, and then last year, with over 60. Well, I want to ask you this, John. Do you think, and we don't have to talk about how he did it, but 73 homers. Do you think that is possible for an Aaron Judge?
No. Just because of the way the pitching has evolved today versus where it was 15, 20 years ago. There's just so much velocity and so much spin that I think it's just a tough ask for a guy like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, to me, with the new rules, sooner or later they're going to start walking him.
Right.
And sooner or later he's going to have to start making teams beat. He's going to have to make teams suffer with his legs. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Why? Because of the new rules.
Well, what I'm saying is because of what he can do, the new rules are more enticing for stealing a base and getting
got
more
it.
hits. Whereas before, if you walked them, it was station to station. There wasn't a penalty. That's why you saw so many walks. I could walk you, and strike out the next two guys, and you wouldn't know the difference. I
Shots
think
fired.
today, a guy like Aaron Judge would not surprise me if he had 30 stolen bases.
Oh,
before the
nice.
season. And I'm thinking, I know they want to keep him fresh,
Right.
but if he starts becoming that guy that no one wants to pitch to,
Everyone's just going to try to play like the 2016 World Champion Royals. Get on base, steal a bunch of bases, bunch of fast guys, bunch of athletes. I'm just telling you, that's what they're going to try to do. I mean, John loved that team.
John, real quick before we go, can you give us your World Series call from
World
opening
Series
day
call?
all the way to the end? Not your call on the mic, but just like who your prediction is.
prediction?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so hard my prediction as an analyst is I don't predict.
Yeah, okay.
But
what should we predict?
I would say the team that has the best pitching 100%, it's been the last 15 years. The team that pitches the best is going to win another World Series. It's been almost foolproof.
Well, I've got the Padres, so whatever.
I got the Yankees.
I'll take the
That
Yankees.
Padres going to
drought.
score 1,000
Get it
runs. I'll go
done.
with
I'm
the
going to tell you something. The Yankees have much more depth than they've ever had. This is their best chance to
Yep.
make a deep run.
Wow, John, going for the Yankees.
Everyone thinks I root against them, so what's the difference?
Thank you, John. That was
Appreciate
great.
you.
Coming up next, did the Joker get MVP votes even though he didn't play?
That's how it works.
Bizarre.
It's unbelievable. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.